Hello, welcome to episode 6 of the It's Taking Gaming podcast for the week of February 5th, 2016. I am Epidemic.
Ravenquote.
Wargare, and we're the only motherfuckers who are here.
Attendance is key. So welcome to this week's episode. First thing I got for us in store is a tweet by a XGames skater that said that esports do not belong in the XGames. She said that, and I quote, well, I'm paraphrasing actually, but she said that couch gaming does not have a place in extreme sports because you do not sacrifice blood, sweat, and tears. So my question to you gentlemen is this something that they should accept, or is it just something that's changing? What do you think?
Well,
I'm 50-50.
A cable repairman didn't, blood, sweat, and tears his way to his little fucking degree, but he can still whip your ass and wire it up your house. Even if you are fucking in the X Games.
It's a very odd way to put it. But they had the Halo 5 Championships was actually aired on ESPN, if I'm not mistaken. They didn't have the finals, but I think it was just like a leg of it. And it got really good rankings, so people are obviously watching it. ESPN, no doubtly, is investing into the whole esports thing, which could cause the shift of esports finally being back on television and cable and all that good stuff.
Well, it's just a different version of sports. It's like what version, runners train their legs, weightlifters change their lower body and upper body, like mostly their back and arms, and every other sport has their own muscle groups that they work, and video games is the eyes and hands, muscle reflexes and eye reflex.
Right.
It's hand-eye coordination, man. You got to train it up. I mean, I understand, I think, where she's coming from. I didn't read the tweet, but it's like the extreme sports, or the X Games, is like extreme sports. It's supposed to be like the best of the best in tier. And I can understand, the difference between being the best in a video game league versus a sports league. But it's still a thing where I think this would be more suited to, if they do this, like you said, it was only like a part of the championship. Not that even the championship was just part of the league itself that they show, not even the end. It could eventually, if they just do that every now and then, have a little bit of whatever's going on, eventually get to where they either have a dedicated thing for gaming, like a gaming equivalent to the X Games, or they could have their own channel, or what have you. I think it's just a gateway. They put it up to see what would happen, just see what the reaction would be to it.
It'll probably end off not in the sports channels. It'll probably end up being in a channel of itself devoted to different stuff like an FPS tournament, a MOBA tournament, and it's all going to be hosted on one channel eventually, most likely, in this big round tournament setting in different games. But, I mean, even if they say it doesn't take blood, sweat, and tears, those people who can pick out 2 pixels at the corner of their screen, turn, aim, and shoot on a half of a second reflex. I'd love to see some of those sports freaks try and do it.
Yeah.
It might not take blood, sweat, and tears specifically, but it still takes...
I bet there's a lot of tears.
There's a lot of tears.
There's tears somewhere.
There is rage, tears, and broken computers.
It still takes time and effort and money to do that. So, and I'd say it takes way more money to do that than any extreme sport. If you want to do an extreme sport, if you want to start doing it, all you really need to do for skateboarding is go buy a skateboard and start skating, and then slowly build your way up.
Yeah, and
with a bike, you buy a bike, build your way up, and then you get sponsors. That's a lot fucking harder than video games. You would have to buy either your own PC or your own console, the equipment to capture it, and all that. So I'd say it's a lot more time and effort to do gaming, competitive gaming, than it is to do extreme sports. Because eventually you can just coast. Once you get to a certain point with that, it's if you get the correct sponsors, if everything goes right and you do everything right, you eventually just get to that point. And then all you have to do is train yourself after that.
All you got to do is maintain your job,
basically. But for gaming, when they're not in the middle of the big competition doing that, they have to keep track of all that shit at home. They have to pay for all that. They don't get, the sponsors that they talk about for that shit is like they get sponsored for being in it, and I'm sure they get some kind of pay from that. But the big thing is if they don't win, they don't get anything.
Yeah, unless they have like streaming association, like they are streamers or big channel holders that have these people backing them as a not only a like a sports franchise, but as just a gaming channel or a let's play channel or something, and they're backing that too. Unless that happens, they're only getting paid at big events, and it's a lot harder to get sponsored as a gamer than it would be as a sports anything really, because they'll send scouts out to like little local matches in like college and high school and scout people out a lot of times. They won't do that for some gamer in their basement.
Well, we can put a good example to this. So, Amos, just spitballing, what is the difference in pay between not a well-known baseball player, but a fairly known baseball player versus like someone who literally just got like drafted?
It varies on the organization, but I'd say a ballpark estimate. Like, let's say he took the best player on the team. You know what? I'll use the biggest GOAT there is. I'll use the Yankees. They have a player that they paid 10 years, $300 million. So that's $30 million a year. And then you got people that are just signed that are, depending on salary arbitration, stuff like that, you're looking at under $100,000. And some of them can produce just as good.
The equivalent version of that for gaming is the person, I don't know, like the only really like competitive gaming group I know is Optic. It's the only one I really know anything about. Because they're like sponsored, right? Like they work for that company. They do stuff aside from competitions for that company. If they do something on YouTube or Twitch, it goes through them. They probably get paid a decent amount. The next equivalent is your average gamer. Any average gamer. They don't get shit. They can get, if they're subscribed to, or if they're a partner with Twitch, they get like whatever their view they pull in. If they're on YouTube, well, that's a hell of another mess trying to figure out ads that you play, viewers you have, people subscribe to you, and all that.
Networks you have to associate with.
And that is a difference between probably getting maybe the low equivalent, like for Optic, maybe a low equivalent, they might get what that rookie player got, maybe across the whole team, might be what they shell out for like promotions and working and all that, versus the person who's just starting out, who, let's say they get, like a small team gets signed to some small company, they don't get shit. Like they get whatever they win in a tournament if they win. And the people that sponsor them just like, we'll give you the publicity, but that's it.
Sometimes they'll fly them out.
That too. Like they'll give them the possibility, the chance to make it big, but that's all they're guaranteed.
Not to mention that, I guess we'll just stay with the extreme sports athletes. They get endorsements that you'll never see a gamer get. Like, I don't think you'll see a gamer get one for Nike. I don't think you'll see a gamer get one for Powerade. You know, stuff like that. You know, you may see Gunner Optics. You may see Astros.
Razor.
Yeah, Razor. Like, my point is that the market for that, or the bubble for that, is so small. Whereas if you're an actual athlete, I mean a physical athlete, you can get literally whatever comes to your attention. If you want to be sponsored, like if you want to sponsor, if a car dealer or a kind of car maker comes up and says, hey, we want you in the commercial for an Audi, then okay, you get to do that. Hey, we want you in a commercial for a power bar. Okay, you can do that. My point is that the market as a professional athlete is so much bigger than if you were a gamer. So, like, I mean, it's 50-50 with me. Like, I could absolutely see the gripe about, you know, esports being in the XGames. You know, I think it's a pretty big leap to go from just starting out to one of the biggest sporting events in the year, or however often it happens. But at the same time, you got fucking poker.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not trying to bash on poker, but if you think video games shouldn't be in it, then by God, you shouldn't say poker should.
I mean, at least even a novice, like, that's the most dangerous person at a table full of professional, is the novice. That is literally a phrase from a lot of pro poker players, is the biggest oddball out. Like, the biggest wild card is a novice at a pro table. They are scared to death of him. But you put a novice in with a bunch of professional gamers, they're going to shit stomp on this kid until he has a mental trauma.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then on the off chance that you put the novice in the middle of a bunch of pros in gaming, there's a chance that guy becomes the next pro. Like, maybe he beats them. That is a 1 in 10 million chance. Because there are not a lot of people who can play at a pro level. I can't. Me and Amos did. We did a competition.
They weren't even pro.
These kids weren't even pro. Like, me and Amos went to an iron gaming competition up in Tennessee. Was it in Chattanooga?
It was.
And we did 2 team doubles, Halo 4, and we didn't have a lot of notice. Like, Amos just happened to ask me one day when I saw him, and I was like, sure, I'll do it. And we practiced for maybe a week. We got up there, got the living shit stomped out of us. It didn't take 5 minutes, maybe, max.
Both of our matches together.
Both of them together. Because it was the winner bracket, loser bracket, and we lost and went to the loser bracket and lost that in less than 5 minutes, too. Man. And we went up to the first team we played after that and talked to them and asked them how long they trained for, and they said they had been practicing for, 4 or 5 months?
Yep.
Upwards. They said at least 6 months, roughly. And I'm like...
About 5 hours a day, too.
Yeah, 5 hours a day for like 6 months for this one competition.
And
that wasn't even... They didn't win. This wasn't even a big competition. What was the award for winning? Like, I don't even remember. Like, it wasn't nothing big, though.
No, it wasn't. There wasn't even that many teams in it. There was
This was a convention that was so small that we had 2 other friends go with us. 2 of the other people on here that are not here right now, or they could be stating their fucking opinions.
I got the
one of them went
here.
into, or I think, did both of them go into the SMOT?
I think Reed did Mortal Kombat.
I know Reed did Mortal Kombat. I wasn't.
Did Smite.
And at one point, we're all walking around, and then a woman comes up to us who looks like, she's got the badge and shit on for she works for the convention, comes up and says, were you a part of the Mortal Kombat tournament? And he said, yeah. And she's like, sorry, most of the people didn't show, and then the other half dropped out. So you're the only one who was going to do it. He didn't even get a chance to do his because nobody was even there. That's how small this was. No. That happened to the Smite tournament, too. Like, I think they got partway into it, and then people just dropped out and didn't do it.
I didn't even know they started.
I think either they started or they were just teams practicing, one of the two. I know we saw people play because you had a friend come down who wasn't a part of our group.
Yeah. Shout out to Toxic.
Yeah. And
Scrub.
And it's like a thing where those guys that we played 5 hours a day, probably just about every day for 6 months, and I don't think they got out of their winning match. Like, they beat us, went to the winner's bracket. And I think they lost that match.
No.
That was them. There's no telling what the people who won done. They could have done double the time of training, or they could have done nothing, and they could have just been naturally good enough to do it.
But, we didn't get last, though. Did you know that?
Yeah.
Because there was one team that dropped out.
Yeah. And it's like, even then, with them having done that, they are still nowhere near the pro-level players. They don't even equate.
Yeah.
Now, I can attest to the whole training thing because I played a few tournaments on the lower tiers in World of Tanks. Like when I was in one of the larger clans that controlled a very large portion of our Clan Wars map in World of Tanks. And we would fight our Clan Wars team as training for going into the tournament. And we would do this about a month and a half in advance for 2 to 4 hours a day. And we get into this tournament after all this time, and we are barely keeping pace with the 3rd and 4th place winner. We got 5th or 4th a couple times. And I think once I left the team and another person left the team, and they got our head Clan Wars people in, they got 3rd and 2nd a few years after. I mean, it takes some coordination and skill that's hard to fucking achieve with a short amount of time, even if it's a month or two of training intensely on the very specific maps that you're going to be fighting on, in the vehicles you're going to be fighting with, or whatever equipment you're set with.
And what it comes down to is, I would say it takes near the same level of time, training, and dedication for anything, whether it's, an athlete, or whether it's sports, or whether it's gamers, or whether it's anything. I don't care what it is. If you go to a chess tournament, if you're in arm wrestling, any kind of tournament takes the same amount of dedication, time, and practice. But for gamers, they have to put in an extra bit. They have to put in their money way more than others for less of an opportunity, for less of a chance to make something of themselves. That's like we're doing this right now. We're doing a podcast. This is our 6th podcast now.
Mm-hmm.
And we've barely got any views. We're doing all right. We've got feedback, but there's still the slim to none chance of this work. We could work on this for the next 10 years of our lives and not make it even near the top 500 people on YouTube. Or we could do, by the end of this podcast, the next time we do one, we could blow up overnight. No matter, and we've put time into it, we put money into it and all that, but it's still a level of luck. It's still a level of, no matter how much you train, how much time you put into it, you still have to just accept it. So, like, saying that it shouldn't be there, I can understand it. It's not the same as what you're doing. Yours is probably more physically exhausting, but what we do is more mentally exhausting, or what competitive gamers do. It's more mentally exhausting for them.
Well, there's just so much that goes into it. I mean, let's just take, like, she was a skier. I believe she was a skier. And, I'm not a professional at the XGames, but I think I know what competition she's in. She's in that, like, downhill slope skiing. So I get the fact that you have to, obviously know how to ski. You got to know how to perfectly time it around those flags that you have to do. You got to learn how to balance. You got to learn how to, have a nice, I don't know how to say it, but like, you don't want to carry too much speed where you can't control it. I guess it's all about control. I guess I should just say that. But like, at the same time, that's all physical. And I know you have to be mentally focused for 46 seconds, maybe under a minute to finish a course.
Yeah.
Pro gamers are hand-eye coordination. They have to work on hand-eye coordination. They have to work on teamwork. They have to, when it comes to Halo, you have to know weapon spawns. You have to know times, intervals, positions, and stuff like that. And you have to do that constantly. It's not just a minute. I don't know what they used for the X Games, but the average match in Halo is 15 minutes, 20 minutes, and then you're playing back-to-back matches. That's mentally exhausting.
And there's two things that no physical, a lot of the physical sports on that channel won't really have to even bother with. It's gamers have to deal with something that is completely out of their control. It's the mechanical aspect of their sport. It is the lag and time lapse between their movement and their game movement. That few milliseconds is enough to throw somebody off if it changes or varies in mid-match, unless that player has the mental capacity to change within milliseconds of a movement. A change in milliseconds. Think about that. You have to adjust for milliseconds of a fight to compensate and come out victorious.
Sorry.
And then with the skiers, they have a set course that they run, and everybody runs it. They might change it and then run it again for a second course. With gamers, it's a different strategy every time. It's a completely... It completely revolves around what your enemy's doing, what you are doing, what happened in the map. It is a changing strategy every moment of every second.
Yep. I mean...
So you're never doing the same thing twice most of the time.
Right. A lot of Halo... we keep using Halo because it's kind of what we're the most knowledgeable at when it comes to all the stuff that's competitive. I've never played a Call of Duty competitive match in my life ever. I mean, we were in a Gears clan for a while, but that wasn't, there wasn't really a lot of rules. That wasn't dedicated to, or hard to set up. But in Halo, it's just like you're planning your strategy around what the enemy's doing, and that means all 4 of your members of your team were on different sections of the map. It's not like they went to one station and stayed there all 50 kills, all 15 minutes. But
it's the level of where people see it as like, if you're an athlete who has never played games, and I mean like really played games, I don't mean like you play them every now and then for fun. Like, I mean, if you aren't a gamer, someone who regularly has played games for the better portion of your life, you can't understand it. I don't really think you can equate it. You can explain it all day, but it won't really make sense. If the 3 of us, let's say we did a triple team tournament with one other team, and we went against them, I've got to keep track of myself, what I'm doing, where I'm at, what weapons I have, where weapons have spawned, and then I've got to keep track of where you 2 are, so I know where I'm covered from.
And then you've got to keep track of what we've picked up,
What
to make
you've
sure
picked
your
up.
times relate to ours.
And then I've got to keep track. Now, after that, that's just on our side, keeping track of myself, my teammates, what they've done, what I'm doing. I also have to keep track of the other 3 players in the game who could be running in completely different scenario from us. We could be, doing like bait and switch tactics. We could be, waiting for them to come to us. We could be assaulting, and they could be doing the reverse of us, or they could be doing the same. So we got to keep track of what their play style is. Then we got to keep track of, each of us together have to keep track of each of their 3 players, what they've picked up, where they're at, and what they're doing. And then after that, after you've already taken into account the player aspects of it, you have to take the map into consideration. I have to think like, we're playing a game on Uncaged, okay? I know where the sniper is, I know where the shotgun is, the grenade launcher is, I know where grenades spawn.
Need to keep track of the high points in case somebody gets up there.
Got to make sure whether someone's in the tower, somebody's at the elbow, the bus stop, if they're in the middle, wherever. And then after that, after we've taken my team, their team, the weapons, and the map into consideration, then after all that is being thought about, then you have to take in, like Travis said, the potential lag if you're not playing, because most games nowadays don't have a dedicated LAN system anymore. Like, you have to play online. So I got to take into consideration, have either of my teammates said anything about lagging? Has the other team looked like they're lagging? Am I lagging?
Or if you're on a game that has a millisecond registration, like, okay, I usually play at 110 millisecond lag. This is running 56 or something. So I need to compensate for that 50-something millisecond.
And then, having taken my team, their team, weapons, the map, and the lag itself, then another level of it is you've got to take into consideration bugs and glitches. There's shit that no matter how set up a tournament makes the game, you could still have just random shit that bugs in the game. In Halo, for example, we've all experienced it where we're running around, we're nearly out of ammo, or we're out of ammo for one weapon, we're nearly out for the other, we're being fucking chased by half the fucking team. Oh look, there's a DMR on the ground, I'm gonna pick it up. The gun's fucking empty. That's not supposed to be possible. For those of you who don't know, you're not supposed to be able to pick a weapon up that doesn't have ammo. Well, fuck. Now I have 2 empty weapons. And then there's if someone is lagging and I've shot them, I've got to keep trying to figure out how many shots have actually registered and how many haven't.
Or how far ahead you need to aim for them to compensate for their lag.
Exactly. And if we're both lagging, then got to take into consideration where I need to aim for their lag plus my lag. And that's the biggest thing about all that. And then if you're playing a game like,
Call of Duty or something, you got to account for bad hit registration.
Yeah, and then if you're playing specifically in Halo, if you're playing Reach, what the fuck does the enemy have? Which equipment do they have? Do they have the fucking? I know like there's set rules of what you can and can't use, but I'm just saying for example, do they have armor
lockdown?
Do they have the armor lock? Do they have hologram? Do they have jetpack? Do they just have sprint? Because if they have sprint, that completely changes the game. Because you can ask anybody who's ever played against me in Halo Reach, I run like a bastard sometimes, and you will never fucking catch me if I don't want you to. So if there's a motherfucker running a sprint equipment...
I'm sure Brian would protest to that if he was here.
Shit. Well, Brian needs to quit getting his ass fucked to death. It's his fault. He shouldn't be a bitch. I'm just saying.
I know. That's just funny.
And then it's like, so let's say the other team is running, like, say we're all running sprint. We're playing Halo Reach. We all have sprint. Let's say 2 of them have sprint, but 1 has jetpack. Well, now we know we got 2 people. We got to cover because we know they can sprint out of sight faster or sprint towards us faster.
And we know they can reach locations faster on their side of the map.
But we also know there's a motherfucker who, while who can't move faster, he can get to areas we can't. He can get up to us faster. And here's the real fucking kicker. We don't know which of the one motherfuckers it is when we start. Now, if we're lucky and they look different, which they usually don't, it's usually red, blue, unless the character has a very different armor set from his teammates.
Gigantic fucking horde.
Yeah, the epidemic helmet.
Yeah, love that horde.
One of those people on.
If they look too similar, then you're fucked. Because you have no idea. You could be running at somebody and like, that looks like the sprint guy, and then he jetpacks the fuck to the side. Well, fuck, that's not him.
Or, who knows, the jetpack dude might be their good sniper. Or he might be the dude that couldn't hit the broadside of a fucking barn. You'll never know until it's too fucking late.
And you don't know. And then after you do, that just reminds me, after you figure out what their team strategy is, you don't know individual strategy. If you manage to separate them from each other, if they're running together or not, you don't know what one person's going to do. You don't know if he's, CQC or if he's mid-range, long-range. You don't know if he's a coward that's going to run away to get to his team. You don't know.
Don't know if he'll panic or he'll kill the 3 of you by himself barehanded.
I just want to simplify this just a little bit. There's going to be people that listen that's probably never, they don't know what the heck we're talking about. So I'll put it this way. If you are a person that has never played a game before in your life, go ahead and hop on Halo. Hop on Call of Duty. Go to a free-for-all. Try to get first. Just try to get first. Because if you're one of those people that says, oh, video games don't teach you nothing, or they don't teach you enough to be in the XGames, I'm just saying, go ahead and play a multiplayer game and tell me how hard it is to get first.
Oh, I'd love if they had a section to where they put the losing teams on the video game category up against the winners of each individual regular sport, and just watch the fucking ass kicking that they would receive.
Yeah. I think it comes down to people don't give enough credit for what gaming is. Back in the day, yeah. If there was competitive gaming back in the day for Mario,
competitive Pong,
yeah,
yeah,
shit
man.
like that, then it doesn't exist. Obviously, you can't do that.
Who can bury freaking? Never mind, I lost my thought. Go ahead.
It's and people, I guess, still see it like that. They don't understand the level of dedication it takes.
Or the level of intricacy that it
they don't understand. Actually, I think it is. They don't understand the level of difference in dedication it is to be a gamer, or to be the dedication between just playing games,
casual player, or
a casual player, being a gamer, then being a hardcore gamer, and then being a pro player. Because those are all separate levels, and you put any one of those in a game together, and any one of them could potentially come out the victor. But it's a level of time and dedication it takes to put into it. They put in just as much fucking time as that woman did for her training as anybody. As much time as a baseball player spends in a bullpen or just at a batting cage hitting hit after hit after hit. Every fucking bowler, every time he went to a lane by himself and played. Every time a football player just threw a football through a tire as many times as he could. a golfer, anybody, it's still the same level of time and dedication, and you don't have any right. I understand where you're coming from, where it's not the same thing, but you don't have a right to just be like, no, that should not be here. I don't think.
And if you don't really get the distinguishing or the difference between these different levels, the casual gamer, you put him into a match, he's going to have fun. He's just there for the entertainment value. A regular gamer, he likes the game, he's devoted to certain ones, he knows what to do and how to do it. The hardcore gamer is going to be the one that preys upon the first two. He's going to be that guy in the game that's pulling 30 to 50 fucking kills around, and he's going to be making the other ones leave. The pro player is the one that comes in and fucks with the hardcore player and kills the hell out the other two.
I didn't give him a chance.
Yeah.
So just to wrap a few things up, and we'll shoot off a few rapid fire questions real quick. Just to wrap it up. So I mean, obviously, I think we're saying that it does belong, right?
I say I understand where they come from when like they say it doesn't belong in the same vein. I think they're thinking that it's supposed to be inside with them, and it's not. I think it deserves to be its own thing at some point eventually. Maybe not in the X game itself, though.
But you're going to have to establish a larger following than it does have now for it to be on a news network broadcast.
Right.
So once they build up the base, yeah, I could see it on its own network or a spit off from the sports channel itself.
Alright, so I think we covered that topic quite a bit. That was about 30 minutes worth of esports. Okay, so just a couple of rapid fire questions. And for those that don't know how this works, it's just exactly how it sounds. You know, it's just a yes or no, or a simple 1 to 2 answer question. We don't need reasoning behind it, but I'm just going to ask a couple questions and see what you guys think. I'll also be giving my input as well. And if you have any input about what we talked about today, or any of the rapid fire questions, let us know so we can actually, you know, appraise your feedback or just beat you to death mercilessly with it. Okay, so my first question is, what game besides Halo, besides Call of Duty, and besides Smite, besides the obvious ones, if you can think of one, what game deserves more athletic praise than what it gets?
There are a couple card games now that have a decent sized following and are pretty strategy, but a lot of things like these card games are left up to a lot of RNG, whereas stuff like the MOBAs and the shooters and stuff aren't all up to random chance. But I think it's about the closest you're going to get without going back to that. So probably the card games.
Like Hearthstone?
Hearthstone.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
I don't really know because I don't keep up with it all that much, but I just like to see some diversity. Just even if it's just something small, even if you just have like 2 players on the opposite end playing the game just one time in the tournament, that'd be fine with me.
They could have like major clan wars and like MMOs or something.
That just something different, because all I ever hear from competitive gaming is either COD or Halo or MOBAs. And honestly, I don't care enough about any of those games to want to watch them competitively.
I'd love to see a fucking 40v40 World of Warcraft PvP tournament. Just hear nothing but raw from one side of the screen, one side of the room.
I would like to see more Gears of War, because
That'd be a
especially
good
since
one.
that game kind of got revitalized a little bit with the Ultimate Edition. I don't know how much of the following is still there, but I think a tournament scenario.
enough.
Gears has got a good following.
I think a tournament can bring it back to what it was. You know, if it's planned correctly.
I don't know if they've got a PvP following though. They've got a lot of fans. It's just I'm not sure if they're into that aspect of Gears.
Oh, it was big. I mean, I don't know what it is now, I guess, but Gears used to be really big when it came to like online tournaments. Because it was usually Halo, Call of Duty, and then Gears before Smite got big and all that stuff. But okay, so my next question is just in maybe a brief sentence or two. if you were in control of something like that, like let's say you're the head of an esports branch at ESPN, what would be, as simply as you could put it, what would be your next step to make it more popular?
I'd keep on with either doing it the way they done it, where they're just showing a little bit of it here and there, or I would change it to where they show stuff they have at the bottom the ticker of what's happening in other sports while you're watching baseball or something like that. Have that for a thing, so it updates what's happening in this tournament or this tournament for the gaming tournament. Or just add it to that. I'm sure the XGames, they talk about other stuff happening, and just add that to that list.
Mm. That's a good one.
I'd bring in respective YouTubers or streamers to, instead of the regular boring ass announcers you get on every sports channel, just have the funny YouTubers from each individual thing, or the streamers that are really good at it. Have them come in and shoutcast that shit. That would be great.
I would like to see Markiplier calling Gears of War.
I was gonna say I'd love to hear fucking Jacksepticeye be an announcer for EGames. That'd be great.
You want to see it. It's a good idea.
Larry punched him right in the face.
Tell me that wouldn't be glorious.
That would actually be hilarious. I would invest money into that.
I could listen to Jacksepticeye.
I mean, and just all you gotta do is offer to pay for their hotel and fly them out there, and then they can put give them first access to their perspective of the video, and let them put it up on their channel first, 2 or 3 days before you release it. They will make their money, and you will have something hilarious to fall back onto.
I think it'd be good because, they spend all day in front of a camera pretty much.
Yeah, but you know what would happen, right? First YouTuber that gets that, PewDiePie. He's the first.
Like I said, respective. Hopefully respect finds its way in there.
I don't know about that. I really don't, because yes, he's the best YouTuber there is. But you know who I think who'd get it above him? Syndicate.
Yeah,
I think Syndicate would get it before PewDiePie, because PewDiePie probably doesn't know anything about competitive gaming.
Yeah, I want those people.
He doesn't know anything about gaming.
I want those people who do play it a lot, and it is on their channel either originally and it was their primary, and they know something about it, or it's their primary now and they're playing it continuously, or they play it but don't upload it anymore because they kept getting stream sniped or something. No. I want those funny sons of bitches who have played this game nonstop and love it to death and hate the community most of the time. I want those people. I want those people that hate the play style that the people behind them are using.
Can you imagine that?
Shoutcasting.
Be alright, well, he seems like he's poking the sniper out the window. What a cheap fucker.
I want those people.
Oh, you're going for the corner snob? What a little bitch.
This is who I want.
If he had balls, he'd just go around the corner. But no, he's just going to camp behind the corner like a little pansy.
See, this would be a fucking great
idea. I mean, come on. Somebody make that work, please.
I think I'll win this argument.
Someone make that work. But I think that's all I got when it comes to those rapid fire.
Thought of somebody to pair, because there's usually two announcers, Jacksepticeye and I Am Wildcat. God damn. That'd be so good.
Just have on every panel, for every different game, it's one serious dude and one funny dude.
I'll have one regular announcer and one funny YouTuber. That'd be great.
The announcer would just be like, what is this guy talking about?
No, you bring in a serious YouTuber who does this specific game for a living, nothing else. There's nothing else on his channel. He is serious about this game to a real point. And then put somebody funny next to him.
I can do you one better than that. Instead of having the YouTuber who does that game specifically, have the random YouTuber who kind of knows about the game being funny, and then have a speedrunner of the game. That would be.
You can't do that with COD and stuff. But I
you
see your point.
There's a serious speedrunner, and if you get a speedrunner talking about what they're doing in the game, goddamn. It's either going to be incredibly funny, or it's going to be extremely detailed, and that's going to play the fuck off of each other. Well,
I just don't even know. So All right. Well, we all have our opinions about esports and how it definitely could get better.
We gotta say this before we end. EA sucks.
And some of the people who didn't come tonight.
Yeah.
That's what I like. You guys beat me to it. I was going to say. I was fixing to ask any final thoughts, but we got an EA sucks, and apparently the absentees suck.
Send all your hate mail to
Nick.
Reed and Sergeant Reed and Samuel Caesar
And the midget who fucked himself into a coma.
Yeah.
All right. Well, my final thought is fuck the Fine Brothers, but that's a whole different thing.
Fuck the Fine Brothers and fuck Ubisoft.
So that's why I hope they're not mad that we just reacted to that question. So if you're listening to this and you're from the Fine Brothers, just go fuck off. Okay, just seriously, just take a long walk off a short.
Redacted.
Yeah, just go to redacted. Go to error. But all right, that's it for us this week. A little bit shorter podcast, if you will. But we'll be back in full force hopefully next week.
If we're not short on staff again.
God, what do I pay you guys for? Just kidding. So if you have any ideas about any topics that you want to do, hit us up on any of the social media sites. Leave a comment. Tell us what you like, what you don't like. We're looking to improve it, but we can't improve it without proper feedback. So that's it for us. So everybody say goodbye.
Fuck you.
Goodbye.
Goodbye, unless you're the Fine Brothers. Then you can take a long walk up a short